Hey, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you all may be. It's great to see you all here and uh, glad that you are listening to my voice somewhere, either right now, if you joined me live here, or if you are listening at a later date. I'm really excited today because the topic that I want to talk to you all about in this our Ask Me Anything live open office hour forum. The topic today is courage. This is my favorite topic. It is, to me, fundamental. It is the foundation that everything else builds off of. If you're in my VIP program, you know that this is week one. I start talking to you about courage and what that means in terms of you and your ability to care for yourself, care for your loved one, get back the family that you imagined, and get back into the swing, get back into action. It's just a springboard for everything. It has to start here. It has to start with courage. And as I say in the VIP program, I'm not talking about the courage to run into burning buildings. I'm not talking about the courage to jump out of airplanes, okay? That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is to rise above your challenges, rise above the fears that you have, rise above the inhibitions that you have in terms of maybe having a conversation with your loved one around mental illness or around rules that you want to see implemented in your household, right? I mean, these are real fears. These are things that people really go through. We're talking about courage where you are being pushed outside of your comfort zone, because that is what we strive for ultimately, right? We want to get out of the comfort zone and into action so that maybe we can find a better level someplace else. And then, hopefully you'll get a little comfortable there. And then the next thing would be to push you further. So it's really a matter of saying to yourself, why can't I have the things that I deserve? Why is this person getting this? Why is this one living this life? Why can't I get my family back? Why can't I overcome the chaos that my family's going through? And you can. You know you can. You have it within you to do it, and it starts with courage. And I say that it starts with courage because just asking yourself those basic questions, why can't I have this? Why can't I have that? Why can't I rise above this comfort level? That's introspection. That takes some serious cojones to even acknowledge that you are falling short someplace that you may otherwise think you should be, right? You're acknowledging something in yourself, you're recognizing it and calling it out. Even more courageous is when you know that and you talk about it with other people and admit it to other people. So that may be a huge part of what really helps you to get into action. But the truth of the matter is that we all have the ability to learn and to adapt and to contribute and to control what we do and to control the challenges that we have to engage in. We have to engage in these things that will give us the motivation to move forward. So as always, we're going to run through a bunch of things, a little bunch of topics here that will start with giving us a sense of what does it look like to be courageous. Okay. And as we do that, I just want you to think things through as I talk, and give yourself a rating of 1 to 10. And we want to shoot for high, right? If you're scoring low in these areas, we're going to get together. Call me, write back to me, and let's get together and figure out a way that we could take your low scores and bring them up into high performing scores, because that's what this is all about. This is all about getting into a high performance status. So the first question that I have for you is, with regard to courage, how do you feel you are at expressing yourself to your family, to your friends, to your peers? Are you telling them about the things that you recognize in yourself that may be shortcomings? Are you telling them things that you know about yourself that are, you're just confident about? I talk a lot about boundaries when I talk about the 3 life hacks to avoid or prepare for the next crisis. And that's what this is about too. It's about boundaries, but it's also about letting people know what your belief system is. What do you want, right? What things do you need? What causes you happiness? What are your dreams? How honest are you being with others about all of this stuff? Are you being spontaneous? Because when it comes right down to it, silence and silence is a falsehood. It's being quiet about the things that you need is really acting, pretending, and it's not really being yourself. It's not really being true to who you are. So what we want to do is we want to be authentically engaged with who we are, and that requires bravery. That requires courage. So how often and how well are you doing with expressing yourself to others in that regard? Okay. And as with all these questions, I want you to also think about, well, why? Why am I giving myself this score? What do I need to do to improve on the score? And do I deserve better than what this score is? And invariably, you're going to say, yeah, I deserve better than what this score is. Okay. The next section that I want to talk to you about quickly is the awareness that you have of your doubts and your fears. That's sort of the opposite of courage, right? And I talked about that early on, right? We have to be self-aware in order to fix the shortcomings that we identify. But this goes a little deeper because I'm really asking you here, what's holding you back? Have you sat down and identified what is holding you back? What are the doubts and the head trash and the crap talk that you go that are causing you to delay, right? So being self-aware of those fears and those doubts, and we all have them. Don't get me wrong. We all have them, but it's really good to be consistently checking in and saying, why aren't I? I'll give you an example for me. What is holding me back from reaching out to people that I know that are really high up in the mental health world, and I have their contact information? There's some reason I'm just not reaching out to them to get them on board, to get interviews with them, to get them in line. What is it? Is there some doubt or fear about myself that I have? Or what's causing it? It's this constant check-in that we have to do in order to get past that perceived barrier. All right, so number 3. And did you rate yourself on that one? Did you ask yourself the whys and how can we improve? Okay, so number 3, how comfortable are you with change? Because it takes courage to change. It takes courage to look for change and want change, right? Most of us get into a comfort zone. We don't want change. But when we become more flexible, when we become more adaptive and open to change, we find sort of like, oh, that wasn't so bad. That didn't hurt. That needle didn't hurt as much as I thought it was, as much as I thought it was gonna. So how comfortable are you with change? How comfortable are you with the certainty or the uncertainty that the discomfort of change is going to go away, and then that discomfort is going to turn into comfort, right? It happens with all of us. It's initially we don't want to do something because we of those fears that we talked about, loss pain, process pain, and outcome pain. But it also brings us into this thing, hey, I got through that. That wasn't so bad. And now I'm cool. I'm good on the other side of it. So how can we flip that around and think about the gain you're going to get as opposed to thinking about the pain that you're going to have to go through in order to live in and embrace change, the change that you may be avoiding? And are you avoiding it? Are you comfortable with it, or are you avoiding it? Okay. Again, so give yourself a score there. Ask yourself why you gave you that score, what you can do to improve, and do you deserve it? Do you deserve improvement in that area? Okay, then not finally, but next, what is your capacity to get back up and keep trying? what do you think? I guess what's your capacity to get up and keep trying, and how quickly do you give up, and why? Rate yourself there on a scale of 1 to 10. I mean, I'll give you a perfect example from what you're witnessing right here, right now, with the Family Empowerment Now group. This has been a seed that's been brewing and growing in my brain since right around 2016, maybe 2017. And I have taken it from point A all the way to point Z, from 1 to 1,000, all the way back again, and tried all different, varieties and edifications of it to try to make this program work, because I believe so wholeheartedly in it. And it's taken a long, long time to get traction. And in truth, this is the hardest thing professionally that I've ever done. Getting this program running, meeting and reaching so many families like yours. This program and this brand has been the hardest thing I've ever had to build. Everything else I've done has really come easy. And I don't say that to brag. I just say that to impress upon you that if I give up, if I were in the give up mindset and I wasn't willing to keep at it, keep having these discussions, get on Facebook every single day, get in LinkedIn every single day, send out emails, create new programs, create new products. Giving up would have been easy, would have been a long time ago, but I'd be bored. I'd be bored and I would be disappointed in myself, and I would have that nagging itch, that I know that I could do this. I know that it's important. I know that you people are going to value from this either now or sometime in the future. And that's why I keep going. So I get knocked down with this. I just had a staff meeting about this an hour ago. And, I look at some of the data and look at some of the analytics, and I still get knocked down, but I got to keep going. I got to keep getting back up. Before that call, I had a call with my personal coach, who I meet with very regularly. And I basically told him, I'm ready to throw in the towel. I'm frustrated, and, but I can't, and I won't. So where are you? Where are you with that? Your stick-to-itiveness, your willingness to get up and try again. So score yourself on that. But also number 5 is kind of related to that when we talk about your willingness to endure, your willingness to go through struggles and hardships. Now, trust me, I know that my analogy of me working in Family Empowerment Now and Guardian and that brand that we're trying to create is nothing compared to the hardships that so many of your family members and loved ones are going through with your mental health issues, with the mental health issues of a loved one or somebody you care for. So I understand that I'm not trying to compare myself to you. I honor you, I respect you for everything that you do. But are you willing to keep going? Or do you feel that you're forced to keep going? It's easy to quit when things are going bad, right? It's easy to give up and just say, I can't do it anymore. But you have to sometimes be okay with those setbacks, and you have to sometimes be okay with that feeling of just utter incompetence, I guess is the word, in order to really make it worth it, make it, see that dream come true. That's why I said to my niece when she went off to college, I said to her, and I know that some of you have heard me say this before, but every beautiful sunset requires some clouds, meaning, you have to have some grayness. You have to have some crap in your day in order to appreciate the beauty of that sunset in the end, in order to look back and say, wow, that was really cool. Look what I overcame. Look where I got through that storm, and here I am. So I'm sure you guys have heard me say that before. I'm actually very proud of that saying. Thank you very much. All right. So how can you start right now? Now, we just went through 5 different things, okay? And I asked you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. If you are not at least at a 30, I want you to be calling me. I want you to set up a time where we could talk and we could put into some into place some strategies to get you in a place where you are using your core courage more effectively and more consistently. Some quick tips to help you to get jump started in that regard. I know that you probably saw me write this. Know, and I think I said this maybe last week or the week before, know, K-N-O-W, that you can say no. You have the ability to say no to distractions. You have the ability to say no to new opportunities if you want to. You have the ability to say no because, like I talked about, you have the right to have your own boundaries respected. You have the right to have the respect to create your own boundaries. And if people are not going to honor those boundaries, then those are people that you cannot have in your life. You know that you can say no. Number two, and along the same lines, is ask people for help. There's a study, and I can't remember all the details of the study, but there's about, let's say only about 20% of us in this world, and it's probably even less than that. Maybe it's like 10% of us in this world actually don't mind asking other people for help, right? So 90% or 80 to 90% of us don't want to ask for help because we're afraid of looking weak, or whatever the reason. We don't want people to think less of us, or we don't want to be embarrassed, or we're afraid that somebody's going to say no, they're not going to help us. Conversely, about 80 to 90% of us also say that if somebody asked us for help, we would absolutely help them. So think about that. We're all walking around not asking for help, and we're all also walking around looking to give help to somebody else and willing to give help to somebody else. So it's just silly. We need to be explicit about the things we need help with. We need to be consistent about the things that we need help with. And the miraculous thing is that what you see is how many people actually come flying in to offer their assistance and offer their help in any way they possibly can. Despite what scholars will tell you, that being, I'm a English major, writing minor, and sort of a history guy, and they'll talk about Machiavellian attitudes and things like this. I don't think that human nature is bad. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think human nature is good, and I think that we are willing to help each other. Republican or Democrat, I think, believe it or not, we actually do want to help each other on some base level. So think about that one. The other thing that you need to do in order to get more courageous is to really start setting bigger goals for yourself. So many of us play small. So many of us are content to just be content. But your goals and the size of your goals, the dreams that you have, the vision board that you have for yourself. Remember vision boards from back in like the 80s and late 70s maybe? But those vision boards that you have in your brain, those things really define you, and they give a real good measure of your particular inner courage and your particular strength. More here is not the enemy, right? Wanting more is not the enemy. It's the ally that helps you to get more. And more is not bad. More is not bad for any of us. And as I said, another key thing is to be evaluating yourself. That introspection thing I talked about in the first few minutes of this discussion today. But the thing about introspection, and when you start to analyze your, as I said, perceived shortcomings, I'm doing the finger quote thing in case you guys are listening and not watching, but the thing about perceived imperfections or shortcomings is that we want to look at them in the spirit of tenderness, love, forgiveness to ourselves. We all have shortcomings. We know that. Go into that openly and honestly, but don't go into it like you're going to beat yourself up over it. I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm ugly. Whatever the case may be, it doesn't make sense to go into this introspective exercise with an attitude of hate and ugliness, because then why would you want to do the exercise to begin with? So be sure to keep that in mind. And the last thing that I would say in terms of working on the basics of building your courage is to find that discomfort, live with it, own it, recognize it, lean into that discomfort. Because as I say all the time, discomfort is a great place to be. Nothing is going to get you into action more than being uncomfortable. As I say I have a cartoon that I've designed, and I also say in some of my webinars, if you don't believe me, go and put your hand on a hot stove. The discomfort of your hand on that hot stove is going to get you into action pretty damn quick, right? So lean into the discomfort, because the discomfort can ultimately wind up being sort of your friend in terms of recognizing that it's there and doing something about it. So my friends, that's the opening spiel, if you will, for our Ask Me Anything and open office hours for today. And now I'm going to open up the session here to all of you, and we will get into Ask Me Anything. We will grapple your problems and struggles to the ground for the next 40, 45 minutes or so. Stay as long as you'd like, and I'm happy to have you here. So I'm going to stop the recording now and get into some one-to-one discussion with you all.